what the Scoop Geico commercial with rapper DC Glenn can teach you about PR. I had a conversation with DC Glenn, who was considering working with me for media training, and that conversation lasted about an hour, and it was so fascinating because he was talking about everything he had done on his own to move himself forward in the PR realm. And I wanted to share some of those with you. Number one is he SEO'd his website. So he took all of those words that were in the Geico commercial and all of the words, of course, that were intrinsic to him, and he updated that CEO. So his engagement went from 200 people to 3,000 people in a month. And while that's not huge, it's a huge jump, right? And as he said, it's not about the numbers, it's really about the engagement. So that's an important measurement. Number two, he researched his impact in other ways. Of course, the first question I asked is, how is this impacting sales with Geico? Are people actually buying insurance? Does this commercial work? It's a fabulous commercial. Is it working for its purpose, right? Like, it can be really entertaining, it can go viral, but is it working? And he said he didn't know. What he did find out was that even though the video had been viewed 12 million times, he said there were 1.2 billion impressions. So that shows how much people were rewatching it and how much people were loving him. So those are really valuable stats for him, right? That it was so engaging, and you really can't take your eyes off of him. And I love when he throws the sprinkles in the air, right? Like I myself have watched it over and over again. I wonder if you have too. Number three, the other thing that he did is he updated his Wikipedia. Why is that important? Because when reporters and producers are researching you, they pop your name into Google, and what pops up? Wikipedia is probably going to come up first. It came up first when I was researching this. So he updated his entire Wikipedia to make sure that when reporters and producers were taking a look there, they had all of the most updated, accurate information. They didn't have to ask him about it. They already knew, and that was super important because he's controlling his narrative. And that's what we always want to do in PR is control the narrative. Number four is he focused on publications and shows that would drive business. What kind of business does he want? He wants voiceovers and acting gigs. So what has he been doing? He's been going up on Clubhouse, and he said, I've been able to collaborate with actors and with Broadway stars who I never would have gotten to work with. So Clubhouse is really fantastic for that, and people have been popping into their rooms as moderators, and he's been so popular there. He's been going at that, hours and hours a day, getting himself out there, meeting new people in venues that he could never tap traditionally. And so when you're thinking about PR, you're thinking about, well, what are the publications, trades, consumer magazines and publications and shows, whatever it is that's going to get you in front of your core audience. That's what's important. So for him, it was trades, like Ad Week. That's one of the things that he wanted to be in, number one, and he did get in because those are the people who are going to hire him for commercials. So he got before his core audience there. Number five is keep your bucket list in mind. He is transitioning from rapper to voiceover artist and actor. And his agent asked him, well, DC, what is on your bucket list? And he said, I want to do action films like Star Wars, Mandalorian, Clone Wars. And she then gave him all the resources. And then do you know what he did? This is future planning. He started to make demos for all of those films that he wanted to be in. Very smart, because now he's going to be ready when his agent comes in with those deals. And even if they don't come in with those deals, he is already setting the groundwork. He's putting boots on the ground, establishing what he wants for the future. And so I love that he's already doing that and acting. It's more than acting as if, it's doing it. It's really doing it. Like you're really doing a demo for what you want and what you say you want. And I think that creates a beautiful pathway to it. And he said, that's how you create your own luck. Everything is about preparation. And I could not agree more. Then he searched his name and all the terms in the Geico commercial, like scoop and Tag Team and Sprinkles to see who was writing about it. So they're not necessarily writing about him, right? Because it's a commercial, that's a success. But that was so smart, I thought. Number 6, he contacted those journalists who had written about the commercial in one way, shape, or form and asked if they wanted to interview him. And by the way, he's going to be going after Ellen, and he's been doing like 4 to 5 podcasts a day. So he's getting himself out there. For example, he saw on Billboard that his 1993 single, which is called Womp, there it is. They changed it to Scoop, there it is, right? Re-entered the charts at number 65. So he connected with Billboard magazine. Now, they have not gotten back to him, but what he said was, I contact these people and I forget about it and I just keep moving forward. I'm not focused on like, oh, who didn't get back to me? Oh, my PR is not working. It's like he did the thing and he moved forward. When he researched Billboard magazine, how did he find the addresses of the journalists? He went and found them on Twitter. He said because journalists are, well, they'd rather not be checking their email. They'd rather be up on Twitter, a lot of them. He said, so he found them on Twitter. He complimented an article sincerely, which is a wonderful thing to do. And then when they responded back and followed him, then he could connect to them directly. And they're responding back to him. And his commercial pops right up so they can see exactly who he is. The other thing that happened is he did get booked on Tamron Hall. Now, the issue was that there was somewhat of a delay in hearing her. So while he had wanted to promote doing his acting and doing his voiceovers in an organic way, right, integrated into the conversation so it does not sound like it's salesy, but just in the course of the conversation, which is always what I recommend to my clients, is move into the conversation what you want to do in the future so people will hear it and then jump back and connect with you and give you what you want. It's like, oh, how do they know what's in your mind about what you want to do in the future? You need to actually tell them, and that needs to be woven seamlessly into the conversation. So I had noticed, he didn't do that. And that's what he said that he had wanted. And because Tamron Hall is such a wonderful professional, and because he had given her the background information that that's what he wanted, she filled in those delays by her saying, and by the way, his next step is more voice acting, more acting. That is your ideal situation. If you don't need to weave it into the conversation, but the host actually does, that is like a dream come true. And when they don't do it, that's when you need to step up and do it yourself. He was on a podcast about relationships. Now, is that his core of genius? No. And then she asked him, well, how do you keep relationships alive? And he's like, you can only go out to dinner and watch so much TV together and make love so much together. And she kind of caught him off guard with that question. Like he's thinking, I don't know. But what did he do? He thought on the fly. What did he answer? He's made it most relevant to them, even though it had nothing to do with the topic or his expertise. He was talking about self-care. How like he would go to the parking lot, leave the house, take his weights with him, go to a parking lot of a mall before the stores open and do his workout, self-care. So he's away from his wife, he's away from his home, and he's doing something beautiful and wonderful for himself so he can renew himself to come back to the relationship. You are always almost going to be caught off guard at some point in an interview and need to think on the fly, to be ready, to be prepared, and then to be free to be spontaneous so you can dip into yourself and pull out an experience or pull out a situation that is relevant for the moment. That's the beauty of being able to be relaxed in a media appearance, because then you can be completely in the moment where your mind is relaxed and those ideas can come in. And that's why it's so important to practice and get comfortable so you have those opportunities when you're caught off guard and you say something that's absolutely brilliant, which satisfies the host and satisfies you because you've never said it before. And it's your moment of beautiful brilliance that comes through, not in a linear way, but in a spontaneous way, like jazz musicians. Like that's a different part of the brain actually that you're using with improvisation than you are used with memorization. The last thing that he did is not be attached to the outcome. So he's contacting these journalists and producers, and he moves on to the next ones. And he said, if they circle back, yay! If they don't, oh well. And is he going to contact them again? Yes, of course. He said, if you get depressed, you're missing the blessing. I love that line. Just keep refueling and keep going. So this is some wisdom from rapper and now voiceover artist and actor DC Glenn, from him through me to you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I would love to hear if you have any insightful ideas about contacting the media that have worked for you, or tell me which one you loved the most. I'd love to hear it.